Hey everyone, Kevin here. And with the recent release of Legend ZA and Mega Dimension DLC, the fan-favorite mechanic of Mega Evolution is back in full swing. And as a result, I found myself in the same camp as many others, dreaming about what other Pokémon might look like with the Mega Evolution treatment. So in order to celebrate the new game for this holiday season, I opted to throw my hat in the ring and try designing some for myself. However, I wanted to add a bit of a twist after all. It wouldn't be much of a challenge to make Megas for some of my favorites, so I decided to make it so I don't even know what Pokémon I'll be evolving. That's right, today I'm leaving things up to chance and seeing what some random Pokémon fate gives me might look like Mega Evolved. So let's check it out. Alright, so this is how it's going to work. We have this wheel here of every single Pokemon to date, and I've removed all of the ones that have already gotten a Mega Evolution in the past, either originally or through Legend ZA. Now, bear in mind that this does not include any Megas that are to come in the DLC that's coming later this year. At the time of recording this, we recently got Mega Baxcalibur and Mega Chimecho revealed to us. So nothing has happened since then. That's not to say by the time this video goes live there won't be more that have come after that, just in case by some chance I happen to roll something that gets a Mega later this year. But this is everyone that hasn't, just so they all get a fair shot. So with this, we are going to spin. And our first one is Skitty. Okay, so the first one's going to be Mega Delcatty in that case. That could be interesting. Skitty really hasn't gotten the limelight since Hoenn, so I think Skitty and Delcatty would be great candidates for a Mega Evolution to give them a little more relevancy. So let's go start that. So when it comes to Mega Evolutions, I find that some of the best ones take the existing concept of a Pokemon and not just add more to it, but expand upon it. Some recent examples of this tactic being done well in my opinion are Eelektross, Malamar, and Chimecho. And so, in order to emulate that kind of design philosophy here, I felt it was only right to delve into the original design concepts for each of these Pokemon. I say this because, on the surface, Delcatty is about one of the simplest takes on a cat Pokemon there is, but I actually found there's more to it that I never knew about while researching for this project. First of all, its name is likely a combination of the words for delicate and cat, which lines up with its many Pokedex entries referring how particular it is about where it sleeps. It even has a built-in neck pillow in its design, further playing into the trope of a pampered cat. Simple enough so far, right? But the next layer to Delcatty is that its Japanese name holds a secret piece of its design you may not have noticed before. It's actually a pun using the words for cat, heart, and foxtail grass. That's right, Skitty and Delcatty's tails are both a reference to foxtail grass and cat toys, which is made even better considering we have similar reeds here in the West that are literally called cattails. This is one of those references that I can't believe I never picked up on in retrospect until I finally got it here. So with all that in mind, I took to making the coziness and the foxtail grass elements of its design even more apparent by adding this pink cottony fluff on Delcatty's body. The plan was that it would both allow the Pokemon to curl up for sleep wherever it needs to, and it would look like a giant feather boa to lean into the pampered cat motif even more. I had this idea where the tail would get super long and fluffy, again like foxtail grass and another type of cat toy on a string, so that Delcatty could fully wrap itself and maybe even a strainer in its own tail. I had an initial take on this design that ended up looking like it was floating on a cloud of cotton, and while I still think it's really cute, I wasn't satisfied with it. Maybe if you're a fan of my first design, it could be like another form, like how some Pokemon have 2 different Mega Evolutions. But I eventually came back to the canvas another day and gave it another shot to see if I could make something I thought made more sense. And I finally thought of a design that I think solved the issue I was having. I not only made the tail bigger, but split it into 2 tails as well. Testing this out with a few other sketches, I felt that the 2 tails really sold the idea to me a lot better, and so I finalized that into what became my take on Mega Delcatty. With the power of Mega Evolution, Delcatty's fur becomes imbued with a magical energy, causing it to grow fuller and emit a calming aura, able to make even the most hostile Pokemon curl up and fall asleep. As far as the technical changes to Delcatty would go, I would probably put the stat boost into its speed and attack to make it a bit more of a striker. I contemplated giving it the fairy type as well for some more resistances, but in doing that I would probably want to change its ability from Normalize as well so it could get Fairy Stab. That being said, with its move pool being a bit lacking, we could use something like Pixelate or maybe Fluffy or Fur Coat to lean into the new fur it gains. Or we could even lean into the coziness of its design more by giving it a new custom ability that I call Soothing Aura, which has a chance of putting the target to sleep when they attack Delcatty, kind of like how Static does with Paralysis. I think giving Delcatty something like this could make it a real debilitating issue for any team that doesn't have berries or awakenings on hand, thereby upping its viability a bit more. But let me know if you all have any other ideas for what these megas could do. I'm more of a designer than a mechanics guy myself, but I'm really happy with how this first one came together. So, with that one complete, let's go see what the wheel has to offer next. Alright, and we're back here for our second Mega Evolution. Let's see what the wheel is going to give us this time. And it's going to be... Clauncher. Okay, Kalos Pokemon, very fitting for Legend ZA. We're gonna make a Mega Clawitzer after this. That definitely, I could see having some potential, similar to like how Mega Blastoise just ups its cannons and becomes a walking tank. I could definitely see something similar for Clawitzer. Not to mention it's the ace Pokemon of Seabolt from the Elite Four, so this one's a pretty good one. I could see a lot of potential with this. So let's get started with that. Now, this one was probably the most difficult design of this set that I made, which is kind of funny considering Clawitzer's original design I feel falls into the simple but effective type. There aren't that many moving parts to it. It's a pistol shrimp where the claw is a howitzer cannon, hence Clawitzer. So in order to escalate that concept to the next level, I tried a few versions where I added more elements of the howitzer to its body, and even some where I mixed in pieces of World War I era French tanks like the Saint-Chamond and the Renault models. I tried several different combinations of these elements, most of which aren't even shown in the time-lapse here, but despite racking my brain on this, I just couldn't see any of these as being satisfying to me. This was another one I had to put down for a while and come back to at a later date. And I know these videos aren't proper tutorials or anything, but if anyone watching is interested in doing creative exercises like this, I really recommend you keep this tactic in mind. Even if you're doing something other than drawing, I find that sometimes stepping away from an idea for a while and resting on it is way healthier and more effective than trying to force it through. And that's exactly what happened here. After a good night's sleep, this final idea for Mega Clawitzer hit me. Instead of focusing on amping up one or both of its claws, I opted to add 2 claws to it instead. So here it would have one set of giant cannon claws, and one set that's smaller and more precise with its shots. I was also trying out this idea where Clawitzer could fold up its armored plates into a more defensive stance to protect itself, and make it shaped more like a tank, like I was going for. It actually turned out a lot like a Bakugan, if anyone remembers those little marble monster toys. They were such a huge thing in my school for a while, up there with Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! I'd have to say. Anyway, adding more appendages to the beast really helped me finalize that idea and helped me determine how all the pieces would fit together, which in turn let me start drawing a more dynamic stance to flesh out my concept and put it on full display. So, after all that trial and error, I'm ultimately very happy with how this came together. If this were an official Pokemon, I'd love to have it on my team. Now let's see the finished product in all its glory. The battle-hardened Clawitzer becomes even more of a destructive force through Mega Evolution. The shell that covers its body becomes nigh impenetrable, and it now sports 4 terrifying pincers, each of which can produce bursts of water that can cut through solid steel with ease. In the heat of battle, Mega Clawitzer will fiercely rush to defend its trainer and attempt to end the battle in a single shot. As far as mechanics go, I feel Mega Clawitzer would have to get most of the stat boost in its special attack with a bit of buff to its defenses, and the least of it go into its attack. I wanted this spread to act as a counterpart to Mega Dragougies, since these two were basically counterparts to each other in Gen 6, being game-exclusive sea creatures. It makes me happy that I got to even things out by giving Clawitzer the same treatment Dragougi just got. Finally, I think it would need to keep Mega Launcher as its ability to stay on theme. It is a Mega Evolved Launcher Pokemon after all. But I did want to give Clawitzer the added bonus of the Steel type. This would give it some more resistances and even a stab-boosted Flash Cannon to boot. I think Water Steel is a really interesting combination, even though Empoleon is currently the only one that has it. So I feel Clawitzer being this unstoppable war machine makes it the perfect candidate to get this combo as well. So with that absolute unit done, let's move on to the next spin of the wheel. Alright, and we're back here for Mega Evolution number 3. Let's go for a spin and see what we get. It's gonna be... Aromatisse. Okay, so we got another Kalos Pokemon. And again, I feel like this is the kind of Pokemon that I mean, I personally don't have any beef with it, but I know it's not one that's like very well liked amongst the fandom. So I've seen a handful of other people like make their takes on either an alternate evolution or regional form or other things just to make it a little more palatable to them specifically. So I suppose I could do something similar and just give Aromatisse a little upgrade with a Mega Evolution. So let's get started with that. Now, when it comes to Aromatisse, the original design is fairly simple, consisting of a few major references. The core theme of its design is how different scents are used, such as with aromatherapy. However, this Pokemon also references fancy noble dresses that were used in masquerade balls, as well as plague doctors and how they use smells in their mask to protect from poisons. So when I was creating Mega Aromatisse, I wanted to amplify all of these traits in some way to make it look even more dazzling and elegant. To accomplish that goal, I used a few pictures of old-fashioned French noblewoman dresses you would see in a masquerade. I especially thought the rounder forms of dresses would work as a base for this to add on to Aromatisse's already round-shaped body. And to complement this, I added a few more decorations on its body and a larger mask to reference how people of high beauty and status would dress. Furthermore, I made its feathers larger and combined them into a crest that looks like a hat to reference the dress of both noblewomen and plague doctors, since I found that was another accessory found on both types of people. So with that and a bit of aroma cloud surrounding it for effect, I felt that all brought this new look for Aromatisse together quite nicely. And as I finish things up here, let's see this glow up for Aromatisse come to fruition. When Mega Evolved, Aromatisse gains full control over the scents it releases as it constantly exists surrounded by a cloud of its own aromatic mists. It can use these scents to soothe those nearby into a trance or subdue even the largest threats. And as far as how this Mega should perform in battle, I think its special attack and defenses would get the stat boost in order to increase its viability. I had a bit of trouble trying to come up with a good ability for Aromatisse, though, since I wanted something that both made sense for the concept and could help it last longer for Trick Room strategies. I thought maybe Cute Charm for debilitating its opponents, or Misty Surge for boosting its fairy power could be good candidates for that, but feel free to let me know what you think. And with that being said, let's go back to the wheel for one more Mega Evolution for the day. Alright, and once more we are here at the wheel for our fourth and final spin. Let's see what we've got this time for our final Mega Evolution. It looks like Watchog. Okay, another very interesting pick. Watchog is another one that I feel like really I can't imagine anyone's thought about it very much since it was revealed in Unova. It's fine as far as a regional rodent goes. I never really paid it any mind. It's got a decent concept of like a sentry or a almost like a construction worker type of outfit where the patterns on its chest resemble like that flashing jacket that you would see to alert people of construction work and other projects going on in oncoming traffic. So I could definitely see that being taken to the next level, and maybe something like a Mega Evolution could take that concept the next step further. So let's get started with this last one. Now, this design was actually one of the first ones I made because I had a clear idea of what I wanted to do with it pretty quickly. For those unaware, Watchog itself is a reference to both prairie dogs and how alert they look, as well as traffic workers with their bright reflective uniforms. That's why Watchog has those yellow stripes on it that light up. Therefore, I got an idea that I thought was pretty funny where I tried to expand those features out into a full vest looking like something in between a life jacket and a chest plate. I also made the Pokemon much taller and added more lights on its neck and tail to make it look almost like a traffic light. And finally, to round out the design, I gave it a construction helmet to match the big uniform I gave it as well. I really think this came together in such a satisfying way, not to mention how much it gave me a good laugh when I finished the design. It reminds me of some of the funnier Megas we've gotten, like Slowbro and Victory Bell for example. So as I wrap things up here, let's take a look at our last Mega Evolution for the day. Mega Watchog takes a more intimidating stance as Mega Evolution gives it unmatched vision and reflexes. It will detect threats from miles away and destabilize them with the blinding lights it emits all over its body. For the mechanics of this Mega, I'll mostly be raising attack as its highest stat once again, but it will also get a smaller boost to defenses and speed. I think it will stay pure normal type, as I don't think there would be much sense in changing that for Watchog. And lastly, for its ability, I thought Stakeout might be a fun addition, since it would be like Watchog is constantly looking to get the upper hand on potential opponents switching in. Let me know if you have any other ideas that might benefit it more, though. I'm pretty satisfied with how this turned out either way. And with that, we have 4 new Mega Evolutions to add to Pokemon's roster. This was such a fun little experiment that really made me appreciate some Pokemon I've never really given much thought to before. Not to mention it made me appreciate the design philosophy and ideas that goes into creating Pokemon in general. So if you enjoyed this just as much as I did, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to see more videos like this, and let me know what you thought in the comments. If you like this idea of giving out random Megas, maybe I'll do some more in the future. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.